Well, I know because we've done this before. We could talk for hours on end about these past experiences. And Hardy, I'm glad that you kind of brought up this idea of, this kind of warriorship, subject. So, Bryan, kind of in closing, and then, Hardy, I'd like to hear your perspective as well. Bryan, you're out of the military. You went to business school. You got a degree in college. You're running a great facility now. What does being a warrior now mean to you as enveloped and as developed as you are in the art of Toshindo? Maybe give us kind of a brief answer on that. And then Hardy, I'd like to throw the same thing over to you because you've had some pretty cool experiences as well. So maybe that's kind of what we leave everybody with is kind of our idea of maybe what it is like from three different guys that have three different backgrounds, but are all in this journey together and are, from my perspective, just great friends. What does that mean to you to be a warrior today?
To me, I'm not going to run away from discomfort.
Hmm.
You may not ever get comfortable, but you'll endure. You'll put up with it. That's kind of like nin, isn't it?
Nin. Mm-hmm.
So the warrior is willing to go to that uncomfortable, scary, unpleasant place. I felt the same thing. I even said something about that at Emily's funeral. Was to be a warrior means to go to those places that a lot of people put on blinders to. They want to pretend it doesn't exist, and you're willing to go there, and you're going to try and bring some comfort to somebody who has to be there, who doesn't have a choice to get out. I think that's something a warrior does. Is I'm willing to go there, and I'm going to try and do some good when I'm there, and even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unpleasant, I won't just turn and run. So that can take so many different things. It could just be having a uncomfortable conversation with somebody, couldn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got to sit down and do that. Or it could be, hey, I'm going to invite somebody in that other people would want to exclude. That can be a warrior. No, come on in. Come hang out with us. That could be part of it. It could be getting down and doing the work that nobody else wants to get done, but it needs to be done. That can be a big part of it. That's kind of what, if you believe in it, but that's, I think, what military members believe when they sign up is, hey, I'm going to go do some good. Whether they leave or whether they finish their life with that same opinion. But I think that's why a lot of people go. Mm-hmm. So I know it's going to be rough. I know it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to go and do what I can. That, to me, that's what it means to be a warrior.
Awesome. Hardy?
I don't want to try to add anything to that. That was so well said. I just want to echo it. The seeking out of challenges, the like you said, the willingness to go towards the difficult is what we call that warriorship, but everybody's got that potential in them. We see it in the dojo all the time. We see it in I see it in little kids. They learn how hard their test is going to be, and they don't get scared. They get excited about it. They get excited at the opportunity to show that they can do it. They get pumped up at the opportunity to be an inspiration or a role model for the other person who may question. That statement you made about inclusivity and just including other people that may traditionally be excluded. That's something that, we've talked so much about the dojo community, and that's if I could get over my personal stigma of saying warrior, because again, I don't want to front like I'm something that I'm not. I'm excited about all the warriors that we have around us, in that they're willing to be uncomfortable. They're willing to make the hard decisions, invite the other people in, it's because of leaders like you too, and leaders like we have in Toshindo, that it's not uncommon for us. I'm seeing in this feed, as you were talking about the communities that are inherent in each of these quest centers, everybody was talking about how it's the most important thing, and it's the thing that kept them training, and it's the thing that they remember when they met other people and they felt like that was their thing. I mean, you were talking about how it was your thing when you realized it became what you did. So we got a bunch of warriors around us. We got a bunch of warriors in Toshindo.
Awesome.
What do you think, Scott?
Well, again, I mean, you guys are certainly role models, within your communities as well. And, I view both of you, just knowing the two of you through this martial art, I would say my definition of what we might call a warrior nowadays is, not only are you coming to the aid of others, but you understand yourself. You have a better understanding of yourself. And, when I think of, as I was in the military for 4 years myself, and I remember one of the biggest lessons I took in there was from, Mark Russo used to make these flyers for monthly seminars that he would do. And the first week that we got mail in boot camp, he had sent me what they were currently doing that month as a flyer. He mailed it to me, and he wrote on there, he said, something to the effect of missing your presence. He said, do great while you're there. And then the last thing he said, remember who is in control. And that's what my mind wrapped around the most. Is, yes, I'm going through this experience and it's not easy, but I'm always in control in how I respond to whatever's going on around me. So I look at, when I think of warrior, I take that word war, and I now, through my training and reflecting back on everything that I learned, it's like, what is the war that's going on within each and every one of us, that we're kind of stepping up to the plate? As Bryan would say, I'm going to go to those places that no one would go, but I'm going to do that in my perspective as well. I'm like, I'm going to do that inside. I'm going to go to the places inside that I'm fearing in myself. And every single principle and every single thing that we learn in Toshindo training directly has to do with what's going on, inside, and how we relate to outside stress and stimulus when things are not going the way that we thought that they would be planned. But you're in it. There's nothing you can do. It's like, like Bryan had alluded to earlier, you're that quest guy. You're pushing out of your comfort zone. So to me, like, I know, you've got these hashtags that have the warrior names in them, and I just think an everyday warrior is the person that is going to allow themselves to be a little uncomfortable and deal with those things that are going on inside of themselves. And to me, it's like, my experience has been, there's no better way to address those situations than through this practice of Toshindo. So it's I think we all in some way or shape or form end up slightly on the same page together. We just came to the page from a different perspective, but it's great going through that journey and learning more about yourself and becoming a better, what we might call a modern day warrior, not necessarily going to physical war, but battling what's going on inside. So, yeah. And I'm happy to be doing that with you guys and being able to deflect and, well, not deflect, but reflect, on things that are going on with me, and be able to share, situations that are going on in our lives, and being able to train and have fun, and, put each other's faces in the dirt, and then tell great, heart inspiring stories all at the same time. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's like we're wiping a tear from this eye and dirt from this eye, as is life.
As is
right?
life.
Well, Bryan, man, I tell you, it was so great. Hardy and I, when we first started developing these and we had guests on, we were like, we got to get, Hardy was like, got to have Bryan on and get this. Because everybody, we've done fairly well so far in the limited amount of editions of this show that we've had. We've picked some great people with some very diverse backgrounds, and we're still exploring, like, we're going to start getting out there a little bit and doing some things that people may want to start showing up to these with notepads, because we're going to have some pretty, some pretty interesting guests that are maybe slightly outside the field of Toshindo, but can definitely lend something to the community of what we've come to know Toshindo to be. So you're definitely in that book of folks that we wanted to have on, and so grateful that you shared some of your background and some of the hardships and the things that you learned through your Toshindo training. So
I'd
thanks
love
so
to
much for
share
that.
one more thing, and I won't be
Yeah,
long about it, but
of course.
I know in a lot of the other interviews you've said, like, what would you tell your white belt self? Like
Oh yeah,
what
yeah. That's
advice
a
would you
great
give?
question that Hardy created during the
It's
Masters of
awesome.
Toshindo series. So yeah, please field that one.
I love the question, and I struggled with it when I was thinking about it. I heard other people answer, and I was like, how would I answer that? And I was like, I've had such a dream experience with Toshindo. I've had amazing teachers, and I've had so many cool opportunities. So I was like, for myself, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't give myself some advice. Maybe ask more questions. That's something I've been doing lately. Ask more questions, because you can get used to, especially if you're in a dojo with like the Hazes or somebody that's like way mega higher ranked than you, then you can just get accustomed to the fire hose of information, and it's always more than you can handle. So you don't need to ask maybe that. But what I would say for a lot of people is, find something that you're super excited about in training. If bow staff, like you picked one up and you started moving it and you felt like a superhero, like if that's your thing, then like spend a lot of time doing that. Or if ground fighting, or if punching, or if wrist locks, find whatever like you think is just sweet. That was awesome. And dive in with that, because if you're passionate, if you're excited about it, you're going to spend more hours training it. You're going to analyze it on a deeper level. You're going to ask more questions about it because it means something to you. And you're putting in the dirt time to run into hang up points where, oh man, now I got to ask a question because I'm stuck here. So find the thing that's super exciting to you and jump in, because no matter what you're training, if you're training sword or fundo or shuriken or unarmed or grappling, doesn't matter. You're still improving your taijutsu. You're improving all of your skills. And if you kind of reach a higher elevated pinnacle understanding of one, it's going to be easier for that level to spill over into the other stuff. And you're going to pick up those skills a lot faster. So just, that would be my advice for anybody. Try a bunch of stuff, find out what it is that just sparks excitement in you, and then dive headfirst into that.
That's great advice.
In extension of that advice, if somebody was excited about this episode, they saw you and they wanted to seek you out for more information, how would they do that? Like, where do they find you physically? How do they train with you? Where do we find you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm at questraleigh.com, on Instagram or Facebook at questraleigh. Those are the big places. And then right now, in North Carolina, we still haven't been cleared to reopen the inside the dojo space, but we're doing 3 classes a week outside. On the other side of the shopping center, there's a lawn and some trees, so we train under the shade. And then I've got some online classes on Zoom as well every week. We're starting to reach out and do a few free events in the local park here at Wake Forest. We're going to do some free meditation. We've got one of our folks here is a Tai Chi instructor, so she's going to run some free Tai Chi in the park on Sunday mornings. So nice. We're going to do a lot of stuff just to try and get our name out, but just provide some cool, valuable things for people who are looking for it right now, because there's a lot of people who are feeling a little cooped up.
Yeah.
And they want to get out and they want to move their body, but they still want to do it in a safe way. So even our classes right now for the kids, I lay spots down on the ground and like, that's where you got to stay. And we keep everybody separated. For the older kids and the grownups, we're doing a lot of long staff and sword work. But as awkward as it was 3 months ago, I got some people that are looking pretty slick with a bow staff now.
Yeah.
They're looking good. And 3 months ago, they're like, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. We were trying to do it on Zoom. I said, go screw the brush off of your broom and use the broomstick, because that's what we're training with today. And now I got people doing some pretty cool things. So, it doesn't take that long. It's like coming back after a break. That feeling awkward is so temporary.
Yeah.
but it's
True.
such a big obstacle for so many people. They're just very held back by that. I don't want to feel dumb. I don't want to feel new, or I don't want to feel embarrassed. And it's like, just do it for a couple days. You'll get over that. And nobody's going to care. Nobody else cares that you're making mistakes, because they did it too. And they still are. And it's normal. That's what we're here. We're here in a safe place to learn, and learning is encouraged. And some days you look like a rock star, and some days you look like you don't know which foot your shoe goes on. And that's okay. Because if you're looking like a rock star every day, you're not growing. You're just doing the stuff you're already good at.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think that's why it's such a. Go ahead, Scott.
No. Please go ahead, Hardy.
I was gonna say that's why I think it's such a great time to start martial arts now. If you've been waiting, there's so many like really good online digital things. You could get over that awkwardness. You could do it through Zoom, and like you said, nobody's watching, because everybody's watching the instructor trying to figure it out. And you could learn the techniques. You could get comfortable enough so that once we do get back, in the dojo, you are gonna look more like a rock star.
Yeah. For sure. You were talking about the
yeah, classes are small. You get lots of attention.
Yeah, there you go. You were talking about the Zoom classes, and maybe we'll finish it. Hardy and I generally at the end, he and I will discuss what's coming up this week in our Toshindo community, but you're actually part of that. So I'm going to kind of give you a shameless plug, and if you want to add in some other information on that, feel free to. But if for those of you who are viewing, if you look over the right shoulder of both Hardy Hakatoshi Merritt and Bryan Toutoshi Griffin, you'll see two mandalas. The one that's over their right shoulder is the Kongokai mandala, and the one that's over the left is the Taizokai mandala. These mandalas are two different ways that you can view the universe and how you interact with it. So the first series that Bryan hosted with our dear friend Jim McFarland was about the Kongokai mandala, the mandala that's over their right shoulder. The one that's over their left shoulder, Bryan again has hosted Jim McFarland on Zoom. We did our first session last Saturday, and Bryan, there's several more sessions that Jim will facilitate going through that. So why don't you tell us real briefly, tell us how people can get involved in now learning about this other mandala, this other map of mind science that's over your left shoulder.
Yeah, it's not too late to join. I can send you a link of the recording of the first session. So if you missed it, no big deal. It's about a 2-hour video. You can catch up before next weekend and then jump on in with us. Quest Martial Arts Raleigh Facebook page or Instagram, but you can send me a direct message on there and say, hey, I'd like to jump in on that training, and then I'll get you registered. That simple. Just send me a private message. That would be the easiest thing, either to the dojo or to my own personal Bryan Griffin page. They all go to my phone. So
awesome.
This is my my office.
Very cool.
Run the business from there.
And then on top of that, thank you so much for that, Bryan. And then on top of that, Hardy, you are hosting Anshu as well in a different time frame.
Yep.
That is going to be on our Kuji energy. I don't want to get too deep into it. So I'm just going to get into energy channeling, energy awareness sessions. Yeah. And this has kind of been an ongoing series where Anshu took like a broad perspective and talked about these different aspects of Kuji. And now we're getting a little bit more in depth on blocks of 3 Kuji. So why don't you describe what's going on with Anshu this weekend that you were hosting?
Yeah, like you stated, we looked at the Kuji practices, and there's 3 distinct ones that we talked about. And he gave an overview from way up, sort of looking down. This is the general idea of these 3. Then we tightened it up and we started looking at the Kuji in, and I'm sort of describing it as the 9 spiritual powers of the ninja. Mm-hmm. And we can describe them as spiritual powers, and that can sound magic, but we've all tasted these experiences. The ones that we're going to look at specifically this week are Kuji 1. We've all had to have been strong at a certain point, right? We've all had to be stronger than we thought we could at a certain point. We've all faced tragedy or emergency. Some of us have fallen in a well, things like that have happened. And we've had to channel this inner strength to do it. So what if we could do that on command? What if we could even set ourselves up so that we were doing it prior to the emergency, right? Like, what if we got all that fired up so we could avoid the situation? And that's the Kuji 1. Kuji 2, I like to think of it as we're firing on all cylinders, right? If all of my ways that you may describe somebody were working for me, if I was really clear-headed and very charismatic and super passionate, my intuition was spot on that day. I was feeling real confident. If all of that was working at once, you walk into the room and you're the rock star we were talking about. You're going to come in and you're going to be in the flow state. There's a number of terms that people find it, but that's Kuji too. Like if you're operating from a point of your highest potential, right? Everything's just on fire. You're just on fire that day. And then again, if we could call that up, if it wasn't an accident, right? Could I call that up? Are there some tricks, some ways I could experience it and activate it? And then Kuji 3, we describe it as riding the dragon. I think of it as surfing. Not that I'm good at surfing, but as an analogy, like you can't stop a wave, but you can jump on it. You can ride it somewhere. And the famous Stoics have said that the obstacle is the opportunity. And somebody who embodies that mindset can, they're not going to be knocked off balance. We call it fudoshin, right? This ability to be immovable, but maybe it's not literally physically immovable. Maybe it's unshakable, right? Imperturbable has been one of my favorite words lately. I'm seeking to be imperturbable. And maybe
it's fun to say.
It's fun to say, but maybe it's because I'm infinitely adaptable. We all are. And what if we could remember that? You think of, we're talking about our business right now and, the dojos and training and everything else. We've all had to be more adaptable than I thought we could. Had you told me 5 months ago that we would have to cease all in-person classes and still have to figure out how to make this a viable thing, I don't know that I would have seen ourselves in this position. Not that we've nailed it. We've not hit a home run by any stretch, but if I remember this, that's that Kuji 3. And so that's what we're going to look at: strength, operating from your strongest potential, and then the ability to ride these obstacles to the solution, to the opportunity.
All in 1 hour.
Yes. We're gonna do a little bit. So what I don't want people to think is that this is going to be what is referred to as an initiation into each of these. I'm describing it as exercises that we can use to start to develop those powers and awareness of those powers, because awareness is like the first step. Once we know it's possible, then we'll have questions about it. We'll pay attention to the next set of lessons and can go forward. And
that's really what these, what we refer to as our mind sciences. That's kind of the beauty of it, right? Is that, imagine if it was like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. This is what you're studying. It's like it could be overload, right? But we've had it through, all of us collectively with decades of experience and knowledge, getting bites of it at a time, which, when you look back on it, you're like, man, I wish I would have had more information back when this, that, and the other. But now you look back and you're like, I'm kind of glad it wasn't just force fed to me, because there are certain aspects that I didn't even know about myself at the time that these things could be applied to, or that I would use them as tools moving further into life. And now, you get it. And some things, it's like, whoa, this is really clicking now. Like, this is so prevalent that it is in my life space right now, that this is the best time to be learning these things.
Sometimes
in
you need
incremental portions.
You need those life experiences. And sometimes I've found, all right, you want to learn this stuff? All right, we'll give you an experience. See if you want to figure it out. See if you get we'll give you the opportunity to learn this firsthand.
I've heard those before. I've had more of, you're like, oh, if you really want to learn a lesson, are you ready to learn that lesson? I've had more times where I went through like some serious BS. And then after it, I was like, oh, that's the lesson. That's the lesson there. It's very rare. It was like, get ready, Scott. Here comes that lesson. You wanted it. Here you go. You get it. It's always like after you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just survived this. I'm good. I'm good to go. What a great lesson,
That's like those stories I was telling earlier from my military or life experiences. In the moment, you're just trying to hang on. You're just trying to do what feels right. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, that changed me. I'm different now. And sometimes I don't even know that it was a lesson until I'm working with somebody here in the dojo and they're struggling with something.
Sure.
And I say, well, let me tell you a story from my life where I had to go through this same thing, and you can do it. It just gives them the reassurance that it's survivable. It's something they can get through as well. And many times I've tried to help somebody, and then later I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that was a pretty significant life event.
Sure.
Until it was needed.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties about being someone who shares this martial art is, all those lessons that you didn't realize you learned. And then all of a sudden, to your example, you're talking about something, you're like, wow, I really remember that had more of an impact on me than I thought it did. And I mean, you think, I wonder how it would be like if I never came across this martial art or the people that were in it, just so grateful, and so grateful for you for being on, this episode with us, Bryan, and being able to share some of those things.
This year will be another one of those stories.
Oh yeah, for sure. Of course.
Oh man,
remember already you guys have stories, right?
Yeah.
Already you guys have stories as being ones that own businesses. And Bryan, yours is still relatively new, and here it is. I mean, if there was ever a time for Kuji 3, woo! right now it's like, this wave is 4 months old, man. Let's get off of this thing. Right? Well, hey, Bryan, thanks so much, man. I think this has been so packed with some great information, some wonderful stories from a fantastic human being in my book, and one of our longer episodes as well. So again, Bryan, thanks so much for spending some time with us, man. I certainly appreciate you.
I always enjoy getting a chance to hang out with you guys. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, the three of us, we could just get together and talk all night. So this is going to be easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Good times. All right, Bryan.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much.
You too. Take care.